So basically, God, can I say this quickly? Hey everybody, welcome to my brand new show. It is the first day of the WNBA season, and it is the first drop of Bird's Eye View, my new podcast. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to talk about basketball, to talk to different players throughout the league. Today we are joined by Sabrina Ionescu. The resume speaks for itself, but this conversation went well beyond that. It was so enjoyable to hear her talk about her journey from being a little kid to who she is now, how some of her mindset was shaped and formed based on her childhood, based on the things she's had to deal with, based on injuries that she's had to deal with, that has also impacted her actual on-court play. She's got a little floater now. She talks about that. It was just really interesting. And of course, the New York Liberty, 2024 WNBA champions, and now they're trying to repeat. So we got into a little bit of that mindset as well and what she is expecting from the season, what she's expecting from what she calls a new team. So we got to chop it up about that too. So really excited. Like I said, welcome, and enjoy the interview. Sabrina, welcome to the show. I can't thank you enough for being the very first guest on my new podcast. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I got to admit, when, given what I said 5 years ago on a 4-hour-long alcohol-infused Instagram live show with Megan, Dee, and Penny, where we each said who we thought would be the best rookie in the 2020 draft class. And I chose, I didn't choose you. Who I chose, it rhymes with Schmarter. And I just wasn't sure if I'd get this opportunity. So I want to take this moment and say, I was wrong. I was wrong by a mile. I was wrong by every metric. And great. I'm glad we got that cleared up. So we can just move right on to the show. So let's get into it.
I appreciate it. Honestly, I think it's fueled me to this day. So honestly, it might have been the biggest blessing that I could have asked for. So wow. I appreciate it. But no, wow. you know, it's all love.
Of course. But you're welcome, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
That's amazing. All right. So let's start off by actually going back to the end of 2024. You have been on a quest to win a championship. Since you entered the WNBA, you finally achieved it. What was that like?
It's like something you can't even put into words. I think especially with like 2020 and the way that year ended of not being able to win a championship in college, and I felt like that was our year. Like we were destined to win one. It was kind of like I was chasing it ever since. And so to finally like be able to win and be at the top after so many things have kind of happened, like I was the number one pick and I had a season-ending injury and like so many things that kind of were just continuing to come my way. It almost felt like that was that moment where I just like relaxed and I was like, we did it. Like we did what we were set out to do. And it was amazing. I think people always tell you about what it feels like to win a championship, but when you actually do it and you go to the parade and you're just like celebrated, it's the best feeling in the world.
Okay, so before we get to the celebration, because I was going to ask about that, just what you've been doing over the course of the last year to celebrate it. What were you mentioned college, 2020, not getting the chance. You fast forward to 2024. What were those years like? Not being able to, at times, even play in the playoffs, other times losing in the finals. So, like, what was that like for you from a mental standpoint?
Yeah, mentally, I would say, like, between 2020 and 2022 were, like, really dark years. Like, it took me over 2 years, I would say, to, like, feel healthy in my ankle. I had, like, 2 procedures done. I couldn't all I could do was be on the court and play and like do nothing else in my life because I couldn't stand, walk. And that's obviously something that you don't really go out and tell people about because you never want to use it as any type of excuse. And you kind of just take the hits as they come, rolling your way. But I had like dark years of just like not being able to do daily life activities because of how bad my ankle was. And thankfully I got it to a really good spot in 23 was a great year, even though we didn't win. Like being able to just play and not have to stress about like my ankle and stuff for me was just feeling like free, even though we didn't win. And knowing all that is kind of part of your journey and story. And so for me, it was like being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then winning it kind of puts everything into perspective how hard it is. Like you got to be healthy, you got to take care of your body, you got to know what it is to be a pro. And I feel like I learned that in those dark days.
Yeah, I always say I think one of the more frustrating things about being an athlete who has any kind of injury and having to try to get to 100% in front of people, like in front of fans, in games. You know you're only at 85, 90. You can't say it. Everybody thinks you're at 100, and you want to be like, no, no, no. This is not me yet. That's one of the harder things. And then you brought up something else that I don't think people talk about enough, which is like how your life is impacted. I remember I hurt my hip. I couldn't even get in and out of my car like normally.
Yeah, and I think the hard part with that was I was still like a rookie. So I was like trying to navigate what it was like to play professionally. The game is a completely different game than college, while also trying to manage that I physically am not at 100%. So it was this like mind battle of like what I just don't, I'm lost. Like I need help. I was like, I don't know what it takes to be a pro. And also like that was my first injury. Like I had never missed many games in college. I never missed a season. I never went through rehab. So everything was new. So it was challenging, but yeah, you're right. It's just like my daily life. Like I want to go on a walk.
Huh. I know. People don't understand that. It's like it doesn't just hurt when you step on the court.
Right.
It hurts all the time.
All the time.
But yeah, so the good news is you got through the dark days. The better news is you won. Obviously you celebrate with, like you said, the champagne, the parades, all the things. But what has been like the off season like? I feel like the best off seasons are the ones after you win because it is so relaxing.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I think just to be able to see like my family celebrate, and I feel like they've been celebrating ever since we won. Like all they're talking about is the championship. Every moment they get, it's like cheers to the championship, tequila always on deck. So it's been fun to see like the impact that you have like in your family and in community, and see how invested they are in what it is we're doing. But it was a pretty busy off season, like off the court wise. But I was in the gym trying to work on what it is I wanted to, but there was kind of a different like chip on your shoulder knowing like, all right, I won and now I want to go and do it again.
Yeah, I mean, you bring that up, which is where I was going anyways. I do think there's also something to winning a championship in your first, like for you, your first 4 or 5 years, right? So you're headed into your 6th year. So you won a championship in your first 5 seasons. And there's something validating about that, right? About who you are as a player, what you can accomplish. There's something solidifying about it. You're now a champion. That's always going to be on your resume. Nobody can take it off. But now you're trying to do it again. And that has like, you go from hunting, chasing, like you said, to now you're being hunted. Have you thought about that and like what your mindset is going to be now that you're in that different seat?
Yeah, and it's weird because I've heard just so many people talk about like once you win, you kind of have that like championship hangover and you're just like enjoying. It's been really weird, but I feel like hungrier than before to do it again. And I think it's because you know what it feels like to win and be at the top, and like just how rewarding it is as an athlete for you, for your franchise, for everyone that contributes. And it's almost like addicting. It's like, I want to feel that again. And so I worked so hard this off season on every single part of myself, mentally, physically, to be better than I was last year. And I think that's the exciting part because I still haven't really reached, like I don't feel like I'm in my prime yet of where I want to be, because those first 2 years, like I was just getting by playing. Like I wasn't really playing. I wasn't able to work on my game in the off season. I was just rehabbing. So technically like healthy years have been 2 years in this league of me feeling like I'm playing healthy. And so going into that, like that third, like really, really strong, healthy year, I feel like I'm going to be the best version of myself.
Right. I love that. I never thought of it that way. It's like a really interesting thing to think about, having to essentially limp through your first 2 years. And now you feel like you can, what do the kids say? Get in the lab, get in their bag.
Yeah, I'm not
whatever
one
you
of
want to call
those.
it. Well, I was going to ask, like, if there's any advice you've gotten. I'm just going to give my unsolicited, I've never gone back to back in the WNBA, so this is like totally unsolicited. I don't even know what I'm talking about advice. But what I can say is you don't want to fall in the trap of trying to repeat last year. And I don't mean the winning. I just mean there's this, I think the hangover, what people mean by that is there's this false sense of it being easy. You kind of, for some reason, forget how hard it was. You might literally forget, like you guys went to game 5, it came down to a final possession, but there's a tendency to be like, oh, we won, and you move on. And I think that's part of that hangover is forgetting all the really hard moments through the course of a season, and you don't want to try to replicate. You never want anybody in your locker room being like, guys, well, last year, get that out of your locker room immediately. You never want anybody referencing that. That would be, like I said, my unsolicited advice. But
No, I like that. I like that a lot. And I think it helps. We have a lot of new pieces. And I feel like that helps because it's not the same exact team coming back. And you're almost doing the new players a disservice if you're just basing everything off of like last year. I think you kind of learn from the experiences of what happened, but like you can't skip any part of the process and the steps of like continuing to build team chemistry. Like we're still a fairly, like we've only played together. This is now our core's like 3rd year together. And so you're right. I think if anytime you're like, oh, well, this happened last year and we'll get through it in game 5 and figure it out. It's like, that's not guaranteed.
Right, absolutely. Well, we're definitely going to get into all the new additions. You already brought up your off season, what you've been working on. But before we can get to that, we got to take it back to the roots. So Sabrina, you are from Walnut Creek in the Bay Area. The nearest team for you growing up was the Monarchs, the Sacramento Monarchs, but they folded when you were like 11 or 12 years old. So I'm sure you got a little bit of a taste, but not much. So the Valkyries now are in the WNBA. So really quick, like what do you think it means to have like a hoops team in that area, in the Bay?
It just excites me. Like I only was able to go to Golden State Warrior games because being in the Bay Area, like there wasn't another professional team. And I think I just saw they had like a sellout crowd almost for a preseason game. And so there's just this desire of basketball in that area. There's so many great young basketball players, girls, boys that have come out of the Bay Area. And so I think it's just so great for the community. I'm so excited. Obviously, the Warriors have kind of been able to leave their footprint in the Bay Area in that community. And I think it's super exciting for now a WNBA team to go there and us bring more fans. Like as teams continue to come in and out and play, I think it's just going to grow the fan base. But the Bay Area is such a great place for sports. And so I'm super excited for that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for you especially, being able to play at home now, you kind of get like a little bit of listen, your family, I love your family. First of all, they roll so deep.
So deep.
Their support of you is, I want to be in the family. It's palpable. Like they love you so much. They love the experience so much. Like whether it's at Liberty Games in the Crown Club or at the Olympics, like they all rock your gear. They all got your number on. I love it so much. Every time I see like a big group of like burly men, I'm like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Like I know it's going to be a good time. I'm like, I don't even know. Obviously, you know, it could be your brother, it could be your husband, it's your cousins, it's everybody.
It's everyone.
They're so warm and they're supportive of you. So it's going to be pretty dope that you get to go back there and play in front of them at home.
Yeah, and I haven't done it since college when we played like Cal and Stanford. But it's been exciting, like because my husband is the same, like we're the same in terms of like our families continued, like immigrated here. Our families have just like meshed. And so every game there's like a minimum of 40 people that are there, loud, proud, drinking, exciting. They bring everyone in.
I saw the video of them dancing at the game the other day.
They're like locked in, but it's been fun. I think to put things into perspective a little bit, like understanding what their goal was when they came to America, which was a better life for their children, and now seeing how they worked so hard for us, and now we're like on this big stage of doing what we love to do, and like I mean, that's what they came here for. And so every time, like, it's just like tears of joy for them, just like the simple things, like going to games. And like, we would have never thought in our wildest imagination that this was something that would ever be possible. And I think you just feel the love that they have and how appreciative they are. And that's something that I like never forget, just the experiences that we're able to have, and how like my parents are just so happy all the time. And it kind of puts things into perspective when you think of just like what they went through coming from like a communist country. Like they probably never smiled growing up.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I played in Russia, and I can tell you,
yeah.
not a lot of smiles. Not a lot of smiles. When Dee and I first got there, Dee's first impression was like, yo, like, why doesn't anyone smile? And she was like, that's my goal. My goal is to make one Russian smile a day.
Smile.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah, it is really special. Like I said, anyone who's been around your family can feel it. Which brings me to my boy, Eddie, your twin brother. That's somebody that I know you grew up, obviously you grew up with, but you grew up playing with. So what impact has, honestly, being a twin, because Megan's a twin. Megan's a fraternal twin also. And I see that twin relationship. Sometimes it's a little weird, I'm not going to lie, but I do see that twin relationship, and just in sports especially, how you guys like push each other, and it's different. So what has the impact, or what has Eddie's impact been on you?
Yeah, the twin relationship is different. Like we have an older brother who's 9 years older, and he always pushed us to get into sports at a young age because he was at the age of playing. But having a twin where you get to do life together with at every single stage, like we shared friends. When we were playing sports, we were doing the same sports. And I think it just helped push me. Like some of his guy friends were like, we don't want to pick her because she's a girl. And he would be like, I'm picking my sister. And from that early age, it was like, I'm going to show them why they should be picking me. And it's fun. Like we had battles, we fought, we punched each other. There was blood, there was tears. Like there was that type of relationship, but I wouldn't be where I am today if we didn't battle like that every single day growing up. But he's also my biggest supporter now. Like he rides for me like nobody else. He cries
I've
when
seen
I
him on
cry.
Twitter. I've seen him on Twitter.
He's just, that's just
He's
our
active.
relation. He's active. But like we just share this like bond and relationship that you can't really share with anyone else because you don't go through every single step of life with someone else besides your twin.
Right. So you mentioned, your family, their journey to this country, being immigrants, the mindset that brings. You now mentioned having a brother who is both, beating you up a little bit, but also your biggest supporter. How do you think the combination of all of that has, like, what imprint has that left on how you play the game, how you approach the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just taught me how every time I step out on the floor, it's a blessing, but you have to go and fight and earn everything that you have. Like nothing is given, everything is earned. Kind of having that like hard-nosed, gritty mentality is something I feel like I've had from a really young age, and just wanting to figure it out and not take, any excuses, no for an answer. And I've watched my parents do that from a young age. They came to this country not speaking any English and just had to like figure it out. And from a young age, that was kind of the mentality, like, go do what everyone says you can't because you believe in yourself. And so every time I'm out on the court, it's just like, I'm going to prove to myself why I deserve to be here, why I want to be better. But also taking criticism. Like, I know I'm not the best in every single category. And I think that fuels me to work harder and want to just be better, and not really just being satisfied with where I'm at.
Yeah. What about, when you think to your childhood, what about your actual game, right? Like whether it's the shooting, the passing, the way you play, like what impacted that? Was there somebody in the Bay Area you looked up to? Like who had that kind of influence on you?
Yeah, I mean, I think playing with boys really like shaped who I was as a player because they never passed the ball to me. So that helped me rebound. Like I was like, if I won't get the ball from you, I'm going to find a way to get the ball.
I got to go get it. Yeah.
I got to go get it. So my rebounding, I feel like really came from like playing with guys. And then I was always kind of like undersized. And so I had to become a really good passer to just stay on the floor. And so I was always like manipulating angles and finding a way. So I feel like from a young age, like every single experience you have kind of shapes who you are as a basketball player. And then obviously growing up in the Bay Area, Steph Curry is who you like idolized. And so from a young age, it was like I went to games. He was that young rookie coming in, and I was like, I want to shoot like him. I want to be like him. And I want to be like who he is as a person as well. Like he was always that like nice, kind, warm, like person that everyone talked about. And I was like, that's who I want people to know me as off the court as well.
Right. Well, I mean, you're setting me up nice here because I am so curious about what it was like, a Bay Area kid, like in a 3-point shooting contest on national TV against Steph Curry, like Mr. Bay Area, Mr. Warrior, during NBA All-Star with the whole world watching. I'm like really trying to set this up because as I was watching it, this is what I was feeling. Like a little bit of, oh my God, the weight of women and girls are on her shoulders right now.
I know.
I mean, what the fuck was that like?
I felt that and he felt that. We both felt the pressure. Like it was real. We were nervous. Like we were kind of talking before, but there was just like this like nerves and fidgety, and it was weird because we weren't really like trying to necessarily beat each other. It was more like we understand what this shootout is doing for the landscape of sport. And for me, it's tough because that's my idol. Like I didn't really go in with like, oh, I'm gonna beat him. Like it's like I didn't really have that like I hate you and I want to beat you. It was like
I love you so much.
Yes. I'm like,
I respect
grew
you
up
so much.
watching your highlights. I watched them all the time. So it was a super weird dynamic. But once I got out there and started shooting, I was like, oh my gosh, like we're showing every young girl that is watching and young boy that like you can go out there and just do it. And after it finished, we gave each other this hug of like, oh, like we did it. We did it. It's
relief.
over. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, like, listen, from my perspective, of course, the absolute best case scenario is you winning. But in some weird, wonderful way, it like was the best case scenario. It's like, yes, I would have preferred if you won, but you like beat everybody else who participated in the actual 3-point contest. Like your score beat it. You lost to, Steph Curry. Like, there's no shame in that. And you really, on a humongous stage with so much weight, performed so well. And I think, I mean, I'm definitely curious about just like where that type of confidence comes from because you continue to show it. I feel like we've touched on it a little bit. But
I shot from the NBA line.
Yeah, and people were talking shit about the fact that you were shooting with a woman's ball. They were like, I was like, she's getting ready for the Olympics. And the WNBA says she's not going to switch balls.
No, I was like, you guys want me to do like switch everything right now?
Yeah, right. You shot from the NBA line. My thing on that was, how many times have you gone to a park, right? And let's say, or better, how many times have you been playing pickup with other women and there's a guy that enters the picture? Maybe it's practice players, whatever. And you're playing with a woman's ball. And what do? Bitch and moan about the ball. How do you guys play with this ball? If anything,
it's so small, it's so this, it's so that.
Yeah. If anything, it's harder to shoot with a woman's ball in a lot of ways. You might have done better with a men's ball. That's what I was telling people when they were trying to bring that up. I was like, she might have done better with the men's ball.
I know, and it's funny because it was something I actually had talked to Steph about at some point when we were hearing people were talking about it. I was like, I'll freaking shoot with any ball. Like, give me a few weeks to practice because it's just different. Like, if he had to shoot with a woman's ball, he probably would have lost and not made nearly as many. It's like, you're just used to shooting with the ball you always shoot with. Athletes can switch over. Like, we would figure it out, but
definitely,
it's one of those things where it's like, if he would have shot with our ball, he would have shot probably really poorly. And I think people just don't realize that don't play basketball, how hard it is to just switch the balls out.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so this actually came up on my other podcast, A Touch More with Megan, and we kind of posed the question, like, when this was happening, we were like, do you think it's more pressure to shoot in that contest or play in the WNBA finals? And, now that I have you here, I got to ask.
Ooh, I mean, God, I'm trying to relive that shootout. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I don't know how I did that because I'm like starting to sweat thinking about it right now. I mean, definitely, I would say the finals for sure was a lot of pressure. And I would have to say that definitely as like a team organization is that nothing really beats that. But the shootout is probably like 2 or 3 in my list of ever feeling this type of like stress and pressure of like women's basketball on my shoulders right there. Because if I went out and like missed every shot, I would not have seen the light of day.
Yeah, it would have been bad. It would have been
Bad
bad.
news. Bad
Wait,
news.
did you play? I'm feeling like this is actually a taste of what individual sport athletes deal with. Did
probably
you ever
like
play
tennis.
Yeah, did you ever play any of an individual sport competitively?
Not competitively, no, like for fun, but not like I think tennis players probably feel this all the time. It's just them out there.
Yeah, that's a different breed. You got the experience of a different breed.
I don't know if I can manage that all the time.
Yeah. Wait, so is there any thoughts around doing it again? Not necessarily in that exact framework, but maybe WNBA All-Star? Are you and Caitlin chatting about anything?
I mean, Steph and I have talked about it because I think we've kind of set the foundation and groundwork of what this could look like. We've thought about doing partners. We've thought about figuring out a way whether we take last year's championship winner and then bring them into kind of the framework that we have laid out. I think it's a work in progress, but I will say it's something that we definitely want to do again at some point when it aligns with both of kind of our lives in terms of there's a lot of pressure around that weekend. And I think it's hard for people to kind of understand. Sometimes you just want a day. Like it's your all-star break and it's so much going on. And especially in the WNBA, like as soon as the game ends, you're on a flight back to your city and you probably play in about 2 days. Like we don't have time to go on vacation during that time. So I think in some format, we'll definitely have something like this again.
Okay. Do you think you'll just participate in the regular 3-point contest because you haven't done one in the WNBA, have you? Oh no, what am I talking about? Edit that out.
But this is a question that I have asked many people because everyone wants me to do it again. But I'm always, you kind of finish like the first one I ever did, I hit a record of 37.
Yes, that's why. Yes, of course.
And like, I'll probably never be able to top that. And so it's almost like, is it a one and done finish on top or do you just keep going? It's like, Michael Jordan dunk contest, do it once, done, never again. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm kind of torn.
Yeah. I could see how, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what to do. Like, what would you do?
I don't know. I feel like you're going to know. It's like, if New York gets the All-Star game, like something's going to present itself where it tips the scale for you.
You might be right.
Until that happens, you probably won't know. Because, yeah, it is tough. Going out on top's kind of nice.
It is kind of nice. I'm like, until someone beats 37, I might not have to come out of retirement. Like, go ahead.
If someone beats 37, you have to come out.
Miss only one, then I'll come out.
Good luck. They're going to start adding, like, the 30-point ball.
I know.
It's going to get weird. Okay. So now we're going to go into the college years. So we already talked about kind of like the impact growing up in the Bay Area. You choose to go to Oregon. What other schools were you looking at? Ultimately, why did you choose Oregon?
Yeah, I was recruited to every school. And I waited really late. Like I really didn't know which direction to go. I waited the last day before summer school started to choose. And the hard part was I wanted to go to a school where they just hadn't reached the top yet and be able to like build it. And so Oregon was kind of always a school that I loved. I loved Kelly Graves. I love Mark Campbell. I loved all the assistant coaches and the vision that they had. But it was a gamble and a risk to be like, can I go here and change the trajectory of this entire program, or should I go somewhere that's already established and knows how to win? Ultimately, I chose to be like, let me write my own story at a university that was not well known for women's basketball. And so I kind of took a leap of faith and a chance and was able to kind of build that program from the bottom all the way to the top. And it was fun. It was really rewarding to be able to see it. But also it's like, I just love the community. I've loved how they've supported me through my entire career. And there's a sense of like it's just different in college. There's just this like love and appreciation for your first kind of home away from home. Like it's the first time you leave, and I still go back often, and I'm very thankful with the choice that I made to go there.
Yeah, I think you did all right with that one.
Yeah.
So I am curious, like when I was getting recruited in college, this is actually, I think, like comical to talk about. When I was getting recruited, I had some schools recruiting me as a point guard, a 1. I had some schools recruiting me as a 2. And then I had some schools recruiting me as like combo. Like you could, oh yeah, come here, play both. And so I'm curious. Ultimately, I chose UConn, obviously, and they actually recruited me as like a guard. They were like, we don't really do the 1-2 thing. You're a guard. So I'm curious, first of all, how do you define yourself now in terms of like what kind of guard you are, like what label you would give it? And then if that was a part of the recruiting process on like how certain schools wanted you to play, and then how Oregon wanted you to play.
Yeah, it was pretty similar. They were like, you'll be a guard, but the ball will be in your hands. It wasn't necessarily like you're the 1 or you're the 2. And also like the way I see it is I'm not a traditional point guard, but I'm definitely not a traditional shooting guard. Like I'm really not just a shooter because of my passing ability, but also I think the way I would view it is just like your traditional combo guard. I don't really know which I would pick over the other. If I had to pick, it would be point guard over just like a shooting guard, I think, because I just love passing so much and think that's a part of my game that not a lot of people can just like add to their bag.
Yeah.
That's just like a tough, like it's almost
it's
like
a feel.
It's a feel like you're a great passer. You can see things that
anticipate.
And sometimes there's just people have this God-given talent to be able to like pass and see it before it happens. And so for me, I think if I had to pick one between the two, it would definitely be point guard over shooting guard. But in today's day and age, I don't even think it matters. It's just you're a spot on the floor and you figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you mentioned, you went to Oregon, you helped build an entire program, hit the ground running. You were Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. You basically put them on the map almost immediately. And, you know, you had an epic run in that first year where you did meet UConn. And that's really the first time you in that run, like I was paying attention, but, you know, like first, second round, it's like you catch clips kind of a thing, highlights. And then like Sweet 16 comes around, you're like, oh, like who is this? And then you played UConn in the Elite Eight. And that was really like the first time I saw you like really play. Like I sat down, I watched like 40 minutes of a game. And I love to hear both kind of your upbringing and how that has impacted you, God-given gifts when you talk about passing, how all the little, you know, parts of your life have impacted your game, because that's exactly what I saw. I think what was most impressive watching you, and I vividly remember it, yes, there's a skill level, okay? You don't get to that point. You don't get to the WNBA. You don't get to the Olympic team without skills. So all players have skills. But I'm always like, but what's going to separate, right? Like what's going to be the separator? And you're like the fact that you're just like a gamer came out, the fact that you, I don't know, like this, you will your teams. Like you literally will your teams to wins. And that hunger, zero fear, like that's what I saw. And that's when I was like, oh man, like this kid's gonna be good. So not to get too far ahead, but it's just, I don't know, I think about the 3-point contest. I think about WNBA finals. I think about the impact you had in the fourth quarter, really the second half, but the fourth quarter of the Olympic game, of the Olympic finals, right? Like when these moments come, you just appear ready, you appear nonchalant about it. And so here comes the question, where do you think that comes from? Like that confidence?
Yeah, and it's funny because I think it looks different sometimes than it really feels. Like I definitely do. I get nervous. I get like, it's not that I just walk in like, oh yeah, I'm just going to show up and I'm here. Like it's all like, I dream about it. I stay up at night. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. Like I do have that like performance anxiety, but it's this weird like calmness that hits me as soon as I get into the like flow of the game. and this like mentality of like, I'm going to go do it. And it like the adrenaline rush, like everything is so real in terms of, I feel like I've been there, like I've prepared. And I would say it really comes from how hard I practice and how hard I work. That gives me that like calmness of whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to go out and do my best to win. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, no way you get nervous. Like, no way this happens. And I'm like, oh, I throw up before games. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in there like, oh my gosh, like so nervous. And it's funny because like it doesn't appear that way. But once I kind of get into the zone, like I'm in the zone. And it's like hard for me to get out of it.
Yeah. No, I actually think that that's more common than people realize. Just that like someone like yourself heading into whatever big game you're heading into is going to have all those feels. I do think another aspect of why people don't think that is because of like the passion you play with, the emotion you show. So it does just feel like you're doing your thing. And that, you know, comes across just like, yeah, I'm out here doing my thing. I think that's a big part of how you're able to build like what is now the Oregon fan base, right? Like you guys, by your senior year, I have the note down. By your senior year, you were averaging like over 10,000 a game. It's actually not that different from what we saw with Caitlin in Iowa, just being able to build a program, build a fan base. So what was the experience of that like?
Like it was surreal. From my first year, we had like 2,000 to 3,000 fans show up to the games. My family could sit anywhere in the arena. No seats were taken.
They were the 2,000 fans.
They were the 2,000 fans. To my last year, like by my senior year, every single Pac-12 game was sold out. Over 12,000 fans. And to be able to build, like grow the fan base as you grow as an individual and you just continue to bring more fans. They watch you grow from that like young freshman to the sophomore to the junior, and they see like your love and commitment for the community. It's just so special to be able to do that and see it grow. And I honestly kind of feel that here in New York, like being the one pick, that first few years we had not many fans in the arena. You start to like win games and grow, and you know, you play with that like fiery and love and competitiveness, and fans go from like 6,000 to 7,000 to 18,000 in the finals, and you're just like, we built this. And it is insane to kind of watch and be a part of, and it's fun. Like you're able to watch women's basketball continue to grow, and you know, like you were a huge part of it.
Yeah, that is special. I have this conversation with Megan often where it's like, and we talked about a little bit in terms of hunter versus hunted, the challenges of both. But I think there is something a little more fulfilling when you've built it, as opposed to you joined it and it's hard to keep something on top. Don't get me wrong. That has a whole other set of challenges. And honestly, as you and the Liberty continue to grow, you're probably going to face a lot of those challenges, you know, having that target. But when you build something, it's just a little different. And real quick, going back to Oregon again, you know, the 2020 season gets cut short because of the pandemic. So you never really got to have like that final run your senior year. And you mentioned it earlier, so I'm just going to bring it up again. How do you think you guys would have done? Is it like destined? Or?
We were definitely going to win. I feel like we played the number 2 team in the country that year in the Pac-12 tournament, Stanford. We won by 40. And then the next year, that same team went on to win a national championship. So, you know, honestly, anything could have happened. But I feel like the way that year had played out, like I came back for my senior year. We were rolling. We looked like a professional team, like how we were playing. We had 3 top 10
You
draft
did have
picks.
a professional team. Yeah.
We had a professional team.
Right.
But I mean, it's sad. Like, obviously, it was nothing that I could have ever controlled. It was out of anyone's control, really. But like to never really get that like closure on what would have happened. And obviously like the university had never won a national championship in that sport. And so it was just like, it's tough. Like people still talk about it every time I go back. Like it's like, oh, what would have happened in
What could have been?
2020? Like what could have been?
Yeah.
And it's tough because it would have just been like the perfect ending to my like college career. I feel like I would have just like rode off in the sunset. But
Hmm.
I think now looking back, it's all kind of part of it. Like there's nothing you can do. And I think you're able to see you can have a big impact at a university and in a community more than just the banner that gets hung up.
Yeah. You brought up staying for your fourth year. How close? I actually remember because we had Eddie on the show that we were doing at the Final Four. So I actually remember like chatting to him about it offline. How close were you to leaving? Was it a tough decision or were you always going back?
It was a decently tough decision because I was always like, if we win a national championship in my junior year, like, do I finish out on top? Do I go back? Do I just declare? But
Hmm.
ultimately, it was once we like lost in the Final Four, it was a pretty easy decision of like, I want to come back and kind of finish what I started here. Obviously, very thankful I went back. Like those college years are something that you could never get back, and they're just the best time of your life. Like being in college and playing for your team. So it all worked out the way it was supposed to. But you have like 24 to 48 hours to decide. Like it kind of comes quick while you're trying to compete for a national championship. So it was definitely like a stressful time of figuring out like what really is best for me, but very thankful with my decision to go back my fourth year, and I was able to get a master's degree, and I think that was huge.
Yeah, that's amazing. You talked about not having closure because of it. And recently, you and the Liberty got to go back and play a preseason game just this past week. Did you get the closure you were looking for?
I did. It was
Okay,
it.
good.
I definitely did. Like to be able to see they hadn't sold out Matt Knight Arena since I was last there, and that was we sold out for our preseason game, and that was the first sellout since 2020. And so to just be able to see the fan love and support, the community come and cheer us on, it was like, all right, this was pretty special. And who gets to say that they can go back and play one final game in their college arena? So it was special, and the way it happened too, like I hit a logo shot right before I subbed out, everyone like standing ovation. It was just like I was like, all right. I started laughing. I'm like, there's no way this is happening.
Man, sometimes the script scripts.
Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes it's scripts.
I mean, it kind of scripted again. You were the number one pick. So now we're in 2020. I mean, oh God, what a crazy draft. So you're getting drafted from your couch. You're in a t-shirt and jeans, some sneakers. Your Wi-Fi was terrible. I don't know what happened there.
Awful.
You had spotty Wi-Fi at best. But you get drafted by the Liberty. And that's what I mean by script is scripting. Honestly, looking back, probably couldn't have ended up at a better place. What did you know about the Liberty at that time?
Yeah, it's funny because I like barely heard my name called. The Wi-Fi was not working
I
at all.
remember.
I everything was 10 to 20 seconds delayed. I think my dad just assumed I went one because he started screaming before everyone. And I'm like, there's no way he heard this and I didn't. He just assumed.
Yeah.
So everyone, we celebrated and whatnot, but it was just like the perfect fit. Like I was so thankful to be able to be in New York. Obviously, huge difference from Eugene, Oregon to New York, but understanding the fan base here, the level of commitment from ownership, like Joe and Clara Sai, and how they've invested everything in the Liberty, playing in Barclays Center, demanding what the men get.
Hmm.
It's super important to have that backing from your front office and level of commitment from an organization. And so I remember from when they drafted me, and just talking to me, like they told me their hopes and understanding they're getting their franchise player to win a championship. And from that moment on, it was amazing to just know that they had that buy-in and they had that belief in me to go out and be able to do that for our team. And I mean, not that long after that, 4 years later, it's like we win a championship, which, like you said, is crazy to do early on in your career.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of my questions was going to be like, when did it start to become clear that Claire, that Joe were going to be like turning around the energy and the vibe? So it sounds like it was almost immediate. Like you knew kind of right away, like, oh, they're gonna they're going to change this thing. They're going to turn this thing around?
I mean, I feel like I knew right away, and obviously I didn't know any different. Like it's not like I had been in the league for a while and knew what other owners were like. Like I was blessed with just having great ownership, and thankfully I was in the new CBA in 2020, so I didn't have to understand what the old one was like. But they were super vocal from the beginning. Like, we want this to be the real thing. This isn't something we're just going on social media and saying, "Oh, we own a women's team with the, with the Nets." It's like they put us in the same category as what they did for the Nets, and they saw that vision way before a lot of other people did. And so it's been really rewarding for them to have, been able to see how happy they were when we won, because they believed in it before other people did.
Remember that whole charter in a plane thing?
Yep.
Yep. At the time you tweeted, what a joke, when the $500,000 fine came down. Yeah. What are your thoughts looking back on that, the impact, and what wineries did you go to in Napa? We're headed there soon, so if you have any recommendations, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, they probably own every winery there, so I could hook you up with that. But I mean, I think that just goes to show that, like, they understood the significance and importance of pushing the needle and letting us fly charter. And don't get me wrong, they wanted to provide it for every team. It wasn't just us. Like, they wanted every single WNBA team to fly charter, to get the respect that we deserved and to care for our bodies. And they understood. And that kind of time was when I was dealing with my ankle stuff, and we were like stuck on a tarmac for like 8 hours. My ankle like ballooned. And I remember I like sent a picture to our GM, like, I don't know how I'm about to play tomorrow, because my ankle is like this big. And kind of right after that, ownership was like, they should not be sitting on the tarmac for 8 hours. We got to get charter flights. Let's do this to all the players. And to be able to know you got like ownership behind you that is understanding what they're doing might not be legal, but they're doing it in the best interest of their players. And now you look back a few years later, it's like everyone's flying charter now.
Yeah, so you guys played us before you went to Napa, so before you took
That
this
we
charter.
did.
Oh, I remember, because Sammy Wickham was on the team, your guys' team at that point, and we're all after the game like, "Yo, Sammy, like, where are we going to dinner?" And she was like being all weird about it. Like, and we were playing in Everett because our arena was being redone.
Yep.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, so we're actually we're headed to the I think the Everett airport," and we were like, "What? The Everett airport? Like, what goes out of there?" Anyways, come to find out,
we tried hard to. We knew it wouldn't last for really long. I don't think going to Napa directly after Seattle really helped our case, but go big or go home, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay, so, we're talking about your rookie year a little bit. You get to training camp. You've got the first game. It actually is against us. I'm curious, that game you had like 12 points.
12 points.
Yeah, like 6 assists, whatever. Yeah. The next game, you have 33. So I'm just curious, when you think back to kind of like the lead up to game one and then the difference from game one to game two, what were you already noticing? What were you adjusting to? Like, what happened between game one and game two?
Yeah, honestly, a lot. Like, I think game one, I had no idea how I was going to get played defensively. And in college, I was like trapped and double teamed on every single ball screen. And that first game, I remember when we played you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys just like hard hedged. And like, I vividly remember after the game being like, I turned down a lot of shots for harder looks because I didn't realize how I actually was kind of open off some of those shots. And I was also very nervous. Like, it was just my first professional game. I had no idea what to expect. I remember my first shot, like my first was like off a O board, a little floater. And then in that next game, I was like, if I'm open, I got to just shoot, because there's bigger players in the paint, longer, taller. Like, you can't really just pick and choose when you're always going to score. Sometimes you got to just take what's available. And so I remember going into that next game with like a different mindset of like, I got to be ultra aggressive, take the shots when I have them. I'll be able to get the passing when I get it in. and I go off for like 33, 7 and 7 or something. And I'm like, oh, all right, I might be figuring this thing out a little. And then next game, I'm out for the season. So it was a great time.
Yeeted that ankle. Yeah, that looked gross. What I remember from game one, it's funny you bring up your first points. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is what my memory's telling me. There was like, it was an O board, but you kind of like ripped it out of, one of our players' hands.
Yes.
You kind of like came up under or something, like snuck up on him. And circling back on what I noticed about you, watching you in college through the course of your career, and then experiencing that moment, I was like, oh man, she's got a motor too. Like that to me is actually what separates you. You have like a relentlessness. You have like a relentlessness about your game that makes you able to, allows for your skills to actually show. And that I think is the separator. I noticed that on that play and I was like, oh man, she don't stop. So something that's been brought up a ton, especially since Kaiten got in the league last year, and now Paige has commented on the physicality of the WNBA, something we're all very familiar with. But, they've both talked about their early days, the physicality. You weren't a rookie too long ago. What do they mean by that?
I feel like officiating is a lot different. So I would say that is a separate but similar part. Like when you watch even like NBA or men's college, your star players get any call. Like you can like touch them with a little fingernail. They're going to the free throw line. In the W, they don't care. Like you can be averaging 30, you could be coming off the bench. You're not really getting the benefit of the doubt on a whistle. And I think that's kind of an adjustment too from college to the WNBA is like, it's just hard-nosed, physical, all the hand checks. Like there are no hand check calls. Like as a point guard in college, if someone reaches and hits, you're getting that call. In the W, no call. So I think just as a guard, especially, it's so different. Freedom of movement is different. And also just like strength. Like you're playing against women who have been training. Like I first started weight training my freshman year of college. So I only had like 3-4 years of lifting. Like when you get to pros, people have been lifting for 20 years, 15 years. And so just like overall strength of the game is so different. Screening is different. Post players aren't 5'11", they're 6'7". Like there's just a huge difference in speed and physicality that it takes a while to get used to, but you do get used to it. And then it becomes just like the norm.
The norm. Yeah. And then you don't even notice it. That's what's so funny about year 1 to year 2. So for you, from year 3 to 4, now all of a sudden you become, and I'm going to ask your opinion on the whole super team thing, but now all of a sudden you become this big 3. You've already got a lot of talent on your team, with Benijah and so on and so forth, but you're adding Breanna Stewart, you're adding Jonquel Jones. So now we're in the super team era. Well, first of all, what was the day that you realized both of them were coming? And was it like a group chat? Like how did you start building your relationship with them?
So I was texting them individually, kind of through the whole process. And I'm not like the pushy type. So I didn't want them to come and not really be 100% in on their decision because I know it's tough. Like, and I don't want to be in their shoes. Like, it's just a tough decision for your future. And so I remember just always, like, especially with Stewie, having had a relationship with her just through USA Basketball, I was like, where's your head at? Is there anything that I can help clear up? Like, just expressing how I want to play with you. I want to learn from you as well. Like, I didn't really have a vet. Actually, I didn't have a vet. And so being able for me as like that young, like I was like 24 and I was like, I just also selfishly really want you to come so I could learn from you. Like, I love you. And so it was just fun to be able to like have that communication of like, what are your concerns? What are your thoughts? I would be her like ball handler. So it's like, here are the actions I see us in, and just kind of being able to talk in that sense. And also just being like, New York is a great market for you. Like, I think the way where basketball is, where we're at, like, this area, like it's just like all about basketball. And I think it was just going to help continue to grow her as well. And so I was just so excited when they all decided to kind of join and see the vision that we had, and knowing that they were kind of those pieces that we needed to get to where we are now.
Yeah, you bring up the actual play. What was your approach in terms of adding them? I mean, I imagine all three of you on some level had to sacrifice. All three of you had to find ways to fit. So what was year one like with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like before it was like my team. I got drafted, that franchise player, and I was like, I want it to be our team. Like, I want you guys to come. I want all of us to be a part of this franchise and this organization. And I think they really knew the type of person I was. They knew what I was able to do on the court as a basketball player. But they were like, we know Sabrina, and we know that she does really want us to be a part of this, is unselfish, doesn't care about anything else besides winning. And that for me meant a lot, because I know I really, that was something I really wanted them to know. Like, I want all of us to come in here and do this thing. And so that first year it was tough. It was like a lot of everyone figuring out what their role was, learning to play with really good players. Those were the best players I'd ever played with. And so for me, I was like, my job's getting a little bit easier. Like, I don't have to carry so much of the load of doing absolutely everything, when I have Stewie, who can bring the ball up, who can shoot, who can screen, who can do absolutely anything you need on the court. And then you got a great post player in JJ, who I never played with such a great big either. So it was just a learning experience for me in that first year together.
Yeah. So how do you approach, whether it's year 1, 2, or 3 now, how do you approach games when you have so much talent surrounding you? Like, are you thinking about getting certain people going? Are you thinking about, the mismatches and trying to exploit them? Is there anything in your thought process?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely you're just like learning that first like year and 2 years. It's like you're just learning your teammates and what they're comfortable with, what they need help with, when they're struggling, how you could help. I think that's something point guards always got to try and figure out how to do, is just get their teammates going. But the biggest part was just trust. Like, we just needed to be able to really trust one another. We all believed in each other, but we hadn't really gone through adversity to know in hard times how to trust one another. And I think that loss to Vegas was probably the best thing that could have happened to us, because it's like, all right, we know how much we need to rely on one another, trust one another to be able to win, and to do it so quickly than the year after. And you were just able to see the shift. Like, we got one another. We were able to pick each other up, and it was huge. So that loss, I'd say, was probably the biggest loss that really helped us gain that win.
Biggest win. Yeah.
Biggest win.
That loss was the biggest win. Yeah, I'm a firm believer that you really can't have any major success without some sort of devastating defeat prior to it. I just think that is like a part of life. But yeah, you already talked about kind of losing in the finals to the Aces. You're able to come back as a group, get better, learn from it. I am curious, because everybody who watched you play saw an adjustment you made, or really more of an addition that you made, was your floater. So I'm curious just like how you landed on that. Like, why was it that?
Yeah, and I hate to bring this back to the injury, but if you remember in college, like, I really used those floaters. I would say I had to completely take it out of my game because I could not jump off my left foot.
Okay.
So for the first like 2 years, it was just something that I was like not comfortable doing. So I was like, I will not get to this floater. Then I get healthy, I get playing, and I realized going back on film and watching, like, I'm passing up on shots in this lane that I can just like use a touch floater to get to. So all off season, that's what I drilled back into my game, was like, once I get a little separation, can I get this floater off? And also you can use the floater to then pass, like just being able to just add in that kind of mid-range part of the game. And so that entire off season, that's all I worked on to get to the season and be like, this is working. I like it. It was fun because I think it really helped add to my game once I got into the paint. I wasn't just a passer or like a 2-foot jump stop finisher. I was like, it's hard to time out to block a floater. Like, it's really hard because it happens so fast. And so I think it was a great addition to help me last year on the court.
Yeah. I mean, I actually have a couple of stats In 2023, you only took 66 attempts from what they call the non-restricted area finishes, aka floaters in this case. In 2024, you took 135. In 2023, 33% from that area. In 2024, 40. You finished in 2024, you were among the top 6 guards in finishing contested layups and top 10 in finishing in that non-restricted area. So, I mean, it works. It's working. I think the thing I heard, which is something that younger players can learn from, is when you're adding something, you got to go out and do it in the game. And yes, of course, it's going to be great if it works at the very start. That's just chef's kiss, but you got to stay with it. You got to be able to stay with it, not get discouraged by a couple misses, because it'll unlock it for you. And it certainly unlocked things for you in the paint. And I think it played a big role in opening up your game, a big role in just your guys' run in 2024, which does take us to the epic finals that was. Listen, that was what, like, the basketball gods for that series. I'm sure it didn't feel like that for you in the moment, but it gave everybody, like, everything we all have deserved. Just 5 amazing games. Obviously the first 2, you guys dropped that one, not feeling great about it. You come back, smash them game 2, basically. And then I'm going to talk about the buzzer beater. Game 3, it's an important game. It's a swing game in a sense because you split. All right, you're up 2 with 20 seconds left. You get a good look at a 3, but you miss. And you're kind of laughing. You're coming off the court.
Because I was like,
yeah,
that should have been
okay.
in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could see it on your face. But then you get the ball back with 10 seconds. Now it's a tie game. What was the play call? What was going through your mind? Like, take me through that moment.
Yeah, so actually, I think looking back, I'm so happy I missed that last 3 because it really helped, like, me get, like, regulate my shot and knowing, like, why I missed it and how I missed it. And so I remember that timeout, we're in the huddle, and Sandy's like, which way do you want to go? And I was like, left. And she was like, all right, JJ, you're going to come up, set a go screen. Do not set the screen because they're going to trap. Come up, set a go screen, get out, and then you make a read, whether it's a shot or you can get by, drive, whatever it was. And I remember JJ kind of came up a little early and set and had ghosted out. And I was like, crap, there's still some time on the clock. Like, I did really want to shoot it as close to, like, 0 as possible, so they didn't even get another chance, because the way that series was going, I was like, please, I don't want to give them another shot. But I just remember, like, once she left and I was just kind of, like, dancing with the ball at the top, I was like, I got the space I need. I just kind of, like, faked to go right, and she went flying, and I came back left. I didn't really realize how far back I was.
Yeah, you were deep.
Because I saw, I was so deep, and I'm like, I don't know why I shot it that far, but all I saw was, like, the basket, and I was like, this is such a good shot for me. Like, I'm in rhythm. I just gauged, like, what I needed to adjust on my shot from the last shot, and as soon as it left my fingers, I was like, this is in. And I was like, oh my gosh, this shot is about to go in. And I didn't even, like, follow it. Like, I usually follow the ball with my eyes. All I was staring at was the bottom of the net, and as soon as it went in, I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, all the emotions, the arena was dead silent besides my family, who were really loud. But it was just this sigh of relief. And then obviously it was like, there's still like a few seconds on the clock. Like, we got to get back and play some defense. But I mean, it was surreal. Like, that shot was insane, but I couldn't really enjoy it as much as I wanted to because we still had other games left. So I couldn't, like, get too high on that one shot.
Right. Spoiler alert. You won the whole thing.
Yeah, thankfully now it's like I can replay it and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously we've talked a lot about you, about JJ, about Stewie. Your role players, I thought, in that series played a huge, they were huge. Niara especially in Game 5. But what has it been like to bring New York its first championship?
That's the coolest part, I would say, is it's not like it's happened so many times in the last however many years. Everywhere now, everywhere we go, everywhere we walk, fans, people on the street, it's all they talk about is our championship, how everyone's been so excited for us to start back up. Net season, cool, Knicks are killing it, but Liberty basketball is back, and that's all everyone is talking about. And it's been fun to see just how we've been able to kind of change like so many more new fans into W fans, and how this whole city is just buzzing for basketball to be back, and us to come back and try and win again, and how hard that's going to be, but how excited everyone is to be able to do that.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I do have a couple more about the 2025 season as we enter it. Just a little preview from your standpoint. You are trying to repeat. Opening day is on Saturday. You're going to get your rings. There's going to be so much hype around that, playing against the Aces. Real quick, when you think of the new additions, and you mentioned earlier, you do feel a little bit like a new team. The first one that jumps out is Natasha Cloud. You played with her at Unrivaled. So you have an understanding of each other. How do you see her impact? Like, how do you see her helping the team?
I'm really excited for everyone to be able to see what she's able to bring to our team. She's just a veteran guard who has won. And so she understands how, selfless you have to be to win. You got to take on any role the team needs. She's going to go out and she's going to defend every single night. She'll do whatever it takes for the team to win. She's a pass-first guard who is just looking to get us touches and looks, and she gets into the paint. And I feel like that is something that we really need, is someone who, from that guard spot, can get into the paint to just drag defenses in. And if she can create a few open looks for Stewie, JJ, and I, if we can get like 2 or 3 that we don't normally get, I feel like that would just help our offense so much. And she fits right into that like New York mindset of just like the dog that she is when she steps out on the court. And it's been really fun to just like get to build more chemistry with her in these last few weeks.
Yeah, I also think, and this is speaking, I'm gonna project a little bit, right? So I wouldn't say we are like similar players, but I do think that we're point guards who can score, who can set our teammates up, who like maybe you don't want us guarding the other team's best player.
Right.
Is that fair? This is a fair assessment.
Absolutely fair.
Okay. Yeah. What I always loved about playing with, I played with Tanisha Wright for a really long time, and that's how I see your, let's call it partnership with Natasha Cloud. What I hope to see, and I think you'll benefit from that, is now you can be on the floor with another ball handler who can kind of do some of the point guard duties, move you to the 2 at times, right? You guys can take turns there, but she can still guard other teams' best players, which kind of, if anything, takes a load off of you. And that to me is something that, like, if I'm a GM and I have a player like myself, like you, I'm building that. I'm trying to build that. And it feels like it's going to be a really good partnership in that way.
I agree. And I think also, especially when I'm getting trapped and there's other teams' guards who are come in that are like, just pick her up 94 feet up the floor. I don't have to exert energy.
Here you go.
Yes, on dribbling the ball all the way up. You go ahead and take it and meet me at the other end.
Seriously.
So it's really nice. Like, she's so willing to do that. She's great at that. And also she wants to guard the best players on the other team. And that only will help us be able, like me, to be able to conserve energy while also being like, I want to become a better defender because I'm able to watch her do it. Like, I want to learn from how she defends and the angles that she takes. And she uses her body really well. Like, she's strong. Mm-hmm. She's a bigger guard. And so for me, I feel like it's been great to just like watch how she operates defensively as well.
Yeah. And now she's not on another team guarding you. That's
God.
Always nice too.
Yeah.
Like anytime like a major acquisition like that happens and they come to your team, you're like, oh, this is
better
amazing.
Have you on this side.
I don't have to worry about you. Yeah. You guys also added, our Maureen Johannes is back. Obviously, you lost Benai Jelani to injury, but Rebecca Gardner is back. You really are. I like how you're putting that. You really are a little bit of a new team, and you're going to be going against new teams essentially this year with 7 new coaches. I'm excited to see like what styles they bring. But I got to ask, and this is the final question before I truly let you go, what is getting the Liberty another ring?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's togetherness. I really think we have the talent. We have all the pieces. Our support system of the team around us and their buy-in to being the best role players that they can be is what separates teams. We won in the finals because of Leo, because of Niara, because of KT, because of these players who came in, owned their role, and helped us win. And so for us, I believe that that togetherness that we have from our support team around us, from Tosh coming in, like Marine coming off the bench, who I think could be 6th player of the year. Like, she is such a good player. Their buy-in and togetherness to be able to help us in every single game is, I think we have the depth that many teams don't have. And so that's going to win us another championship this year if we win one.
All right. Well, you know where I sit, so I'll be there watching.
I do know. I can't wait to see you.
Be there Saturday. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're
Sabrina,
the best. Thank you.
Ionescu. This is great. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Sue. I appreciate it.
I think some of my favorite parts of this conversation, which really hit like every aspect of the conversation, was talking about pressure. Talking about pressure and how you handle it. She shared with us that she even gets a little anxious, a little nervous before games, but she's been in some of the biggest moments, whether it's the WNBA Finals, Olympic gold medal games, or shooting against Steph Curry in a 3-point contest. So I just thought that was so fascinating to hear how she handles it. Not to mention, she hit one of the biggest shots in New York Liberty history. I loved talking through that, hearing how the play developed for her. You know, as a player in that moment, there's so much you're juggling in your head. Obviously, there's a physical component to it because you have the ball in your hands or you're running a play, but you're also thinking like time, score, when do I shoot, when do I go? Oh no, Jonquel Jones came too early. What do I do? So walking through that was probably one of my favorite parts of the conversation. And that's actually something I'm looking forward to getting into with other players as they start to come on. As the season starts to get going, we're going to get even more of that pull back the curtain moment where you get to hear what these players are going through as they compete. So we did get to hear a lot about Sabrina's backstory, but maybe we're going to have to bring her back on, like a mid-season check-in to see how her Liberty is doing, see how that repeat is going. But overall, just a great conversation. I hope you all enjoyed it. This episode is a co-production of Together and Vox Media. Our producers are Tommy Alter, Jason Gallagher, Richie Bozak, Harry Krinsky, Jess Clarendon, and Jasmine Ellis.